everyone. My name is Kathryn Soley, and this is 1-800-CALL-KATHRYN. And today we have a special Valentine's Day themed episode where all of our calls are going to be in the topic of love and romance. And I have a very special guest joining me today. This is my
Hello.
Valentine. This is Sam. Welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
And Sam today went to the eye doctor. He has iritis, so he has a Valentine's Day colored eyeball for today. But he's being a good sport and decided, we've been talking about doing this for like a couple of months. I was like, oh, we should do a Valentine's Day themed episode together.
And it happens to be on this day.
It happens to be on this day where his eyeball is in pain, so...
And I'm on steroids now. Steroid eye drops. So I might have a fit of rage while we're filming.
By the way, if any herbalist people are listening to this, if anyone knows of some natural treatments for iritis, I'm been starting to do some research into it today, but I don't want him to go blind, so...
Indeed, it would be appreciated if you have any.
Okay.
I'm ready?
Is this good?
Yeah, it's great.
Okay.
Everything's fine.
Okay. Should we hear from our first
So
caller?
hang on, I should name. So I'm feeling a little weird. I'm happy to be here though. I'm feeling a little like the dread, the helplessness of having a medical thing that like, even though it's probably relatively superficial, it's like I have to take some kind of prescription for it, and so hopefully I can just bring that dread and pessimism energy to this show today and put it on you guys. No.
I'll say too that Sam is, I wouldn't just have my boyfriend on just because he's my boyfriend, and he's like more than my boyfriend, but Sam is really knowledgeable about psychology. A lot of the things that I've learned about psychology I've actually learned from Sam. And he's not a tarot reader, but he knows about tarot and he understands, I think, a lot more than you even know that you understand. Like sometimes we'll do readings where like I'll pull some cards for myself or for him, and then I'm like, I'm the tarot reader, let me tell you what it means. And then Sam will offer his perspective and I'll be like, huh, that's interesting, I hadn't thought of it that way. And I usually almost always appreciate the input. And also he got me using the Marseille deck, the deck that I use. Prior I was using I probably would have ended up with this deck anyway, but yeah, Sam got his own.
Well, you were into Jodorowsky before me, I think.
Probably.
I felt drawn to this deck after a mushroom journey that I did with Kathryn. And I just had it in my head, and I started getting Marseille decks, and then I was looking into the Jodorowsky deck, and I think I showed Kathryn. And so here we are. That was many years ago.
I know. Well, should we hear from our first caller?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We hit play over there.
You mean
Down there. Down.
that we had to wait for the phone to ring?
It doesn't ring.
Oh, it's ringing. It's ringing. Did that not work?
Hi, this is Eva. I am calling about a new relationship.
Alright, pause it. Hold on, guys.
Pause it. You mean hang up the phone?
These are... They're voicemails.
Yeah, the voicemails.
Turn up the volume button. No, on the keyboard.
You mean on the phone?
Yeah.
On the line box?
To the right. Top right.
All the way?
That should be good right there. Okay, and then start it over and then...
Call, reconnect
Okay.
with the operator.
Reconnect.
Hi, this is Eli. I am calling about a new relationship I started. And when I'm with him, everything, it goes really well. We seem to click immediately, and I'm super happy. And then the rest of the week, I seem to bring problems into it. Like, I think of all the issues around it, and it's like I couldn't be happy with it. And I was just curious what the cards say.
You got that?
Mm-hmm.
Don't think about it too much. So I'm gonna shuffle the cards and we'll see what we have for Eli. Thanks for calling in, Eli. Do you know how to shuffle cards?
In a primitive way. Yeah.
I don't know that I'd let you shuffle with my deck. I guess I probably would.
What do you think I'm gonna find it? So.
No, it's like energetic. I don't like anybody touching the deck, really. I mean, you're okay, I guess.
I'm just trying to hold her call like in my head. I guess you're just more cultivated.
I'm used to
at
doing it. Okay, well, keep holding it. I'm gonna pull the cards, okay? Let's see what we have for you, Eli. Okay, so we have Temperance, the Six of Pentacles, and the Queen of Wands. And as usual, the layout, it's, if you guys have been watching the show thus far, it's often the case, almost always, that there's like an interesting kind of layout we have here. We have the Six of Pentacles kind of grounding it in the center. Then we have these two female figures, and they're both looking outwards. You have a thought?
I'm gonna go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
I wasn't gonna go first, but so I see the Temperance is like your openness and appreciation of the relationship, and this is kind of like the Six of Pentacles is the kind of like the truth of it is that it's kind of this balanced situation, but then this other part, these are both kind of two different parts because they're looking in different directions. And then the Queen of Wands is like there is a genuine part of you that's trying to figure out something about the relationship, some insight that you're supposed to come to about either this guy or your relationship to him, or being in relationships. So from this, I would say don't avoid one or the other. Like appreciate like how good it is, and then also just be open to having some rather large like leveling up or clarity. And if that clarity ends the relationship, so be it, but I don't think it has to. Just some clarity that comes from it, which could be something off in the relationship, and that's okay to see, but like just a new understanding that comes from a new kind of graceful understanding that comes from this relationship. So I don't know if you can pull something out of that.
Yeah, well, you know, this is a good point, or this is, as usual, you're like thinking about it in a way that's a little bit different than I'm thinking about it, but it's still compatible and it's interesting to see. You know, it's interesting because I was looking at the Six of Pentacles here in the center, and in my mind I kept thinking of a card in the Rider-Waite-Coleman-Smith deck that's actually, but now I'm realizing it's the Six of Cups. And in that card, there's this childhood kind of energy to it. But I think that I was thinking of that because my sense is that there's something from childhood, some sort of pattern that may be present where, you know, it's hard to trust. It could be, you know, different things. One could be it's hard to trust in love. It's hard to be like trusting that. Is there something from childhood that tells you that that's the case, that it's not safe, that it's not reliable to put your heart, to put your trust, to put your belief into someone, that they're going to hurt you in some way? You know, I mean, this can happen in a really simple way sometimes when we're little, and, you know, our mom or our dad is like our whole world. Then they do something, even if it's just one time, they do something and they yell at you or make you feel unheard or unloved or something. It can create this lasting imprint if it's never processed of like, it's not safe to trust that my love, that those that I love will not let me down in some way. Mm-hmm. And then the other side of that could also be, I'm just noticing also it's hard to like balance. I'm used to being, I'm alone down here. I'm like and even most of the time when I'm giving tarot readings to people, they're not physically there with me. So part of me is like tracking you also. And it's like, I have to reorient
just
to...
sit here disapprovingly.
You are going to?
No, I'm just joking.
Or I'll
Everything
sit here.
you say, I'm just like,
that's not what I would say.
Go ahead, honey. I can chime in too, from based on what you're saying.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I get insights as you talk.
Yeah.
It's like things come.
Same.
You know, often the best relationships they both feel good, and they can be equally disastrous because they fit into some template of what we've been seeking since childhood. Maybe the partner has similar wounds or has similar characteristics of the person who gave you the wounds, and so being with them feels superficially like you're healing those wounds. But even the best relationships, there's often an underlying kind of karma where you fit in a certain way, and if you look at it from a higher perspective, it's an opportunity to heal certain past traumas or bring them to light. And that's where you can get these powerful insights that maybe the Queen of Wands represents, but at the same time it feels really good. But things often feel really good when they are also have a potential when they're plugged into certain systems. Which if it's plugged in too much and you don't do any inner work with the person, it will eventually collapse, or you'll get into some kind of pathological dependency.
I was going to say that.
But if you approach it as like what healing can come from this, amazing insights in healing can come between that chemistry.
Yeah, and I think that we're drawn to relationships, just to piggyback off of what Sam's saying, we're drawn into relationships because, like Sam was saying, they remind us of something that we're used to from childhood, some sort of, it's helping us, you could zoom out and say it might be helping you complete some kind of thing that was uncompleted in childhood. You know, we're often attracted to partners that share certain qualities with some of our parents, or the opposite kind of qualities. And I think like basically every relationship that fails, it's just that the people, either their time has come to an end, like they've gotten what they needed from each other, but in theory they should be parting as friends. You know, if they came together and there was like love, they should be parting in love too, ideally. But I think most of the time that doesn't happen because people are not addressing the underlying wounds that are being stirred through the relationship. And so, you know, you're seeing, so I guess, you know, overall I would be thinking, okay, and I appreciate this about Sam too, because my approach would be to be asking, you know, are these problems that you're seeing, they may be real or they may be imagined. You know, so that could be a pattern too, is you might be projecting onto your this love and trust that they're not gonna, something bad's gonna happen because you're used to that happening or you fear that happening, or maybe you are picking up on something that could be a problem, or it
Evoking
could be
some system that,
I
wish we were here so we could ask you more questions. We'd both sit with you for like an hour.
I know. We should do like a live.
Yeah.
I always think about doing that, but yeah, because you can get so much more information.
So maybe just like be asking like what potential, or investigating over the course of this relationship, however long it lasts, like what potential inner work can I do with this person, whether they're involved or not. What can I learn about myself? Why does it feel good to be in that relationship? And who does it feel good to? Your present sense of self, or your younger selves? Your more like kind of trauma conditioned selves, and
and I would say too, one more thing that I want to say about the Temperance card too is that when I think about the Temperance card, one of the main things I think about is finding a balance and looking at places in our lives where, a lot of traditional tarot readers will look at Temperance card and they'll associate it with addictions. And I'm looking at it as a little bit more broad than just like addictions, because it's more like habits, you could say, where we get into habits in relationships. So you could be looking at, again, just kind of finding some sort of balance between, are these problems imagined, or are they actual things that are evoking feelings that I would benefit from addressing? And then with the Queen of Wands, I like your approach to this card as well, Sam. But I'm also, she's looking out to the right, which I tend to think about looking to the future, like looking to the future of the relationship, possibilities. The wands they're related to the element of fire. They have to do with how we use our energy, how we move in the world. So I would say, thinking going forward with this relationship, just thinking about how you're using your energy, your life force in the relationship, and meaning, are you putting energy in a way that's healthy, that you're like supporting, a healthy kind of unfolding in the relationship, or are you putting in anxieties and fears into it? And then maybe again coming back to Temperance, and can you find some sort of balanced, healthy way of looking at things?
Yeah. Don't be afraid to be disillusioned about elements of the relationship. It may bring you even closer to that person, or just closer to your intimacy with the world.
How are you feeling?
Oh, good. It's a little frustrating that we don't have the person here to explore,
to ask questions,
explore deeper and kind of see what is resonating or not, or see how we could articulate it in a better way for them to understand.
Yeah, over time I think I've just had to learn to try to feel them even though they're far, and just try to feel what they need to know and trust that it's gonna reach them. But yeah, and sometimes, part of why I don't do live readings with people so much anymore, I mean, I would if someone asked me if they wanted to talk to me and do a reading, but usually I just do the recordings, because sometimes, I know this is gonna sound weird, but I feel like people get in the way of their own readings. They have their ideas of what's going on, conscious ideas, and tarot gets more below, most of the time kind of below, more into the subconscious, and so they can kind of get in the way and kind of interrupt the flow of the reading, which is also maybe telling about me and my Virgo. I'm in control. But should I pull an oracle card?
Yeah.
Or do you have thoughts about them? And I like to pull, I like to pull. Sam's not always the biggest fan of the oracle.
Of the oracle.
So it's because Sam's here, we have the Nothing card. But the Nothing card always makes me laugh.
Yeah, what is your take on that?
Well, in this reading, it's interesting. I mean, I might say to stop, to not think so much about it, to not necessarily try to plan things out, to not like be like, okay, well, this is, you know, the pattern that I'm in, and this is like, you know, try to not necessarily trying to figure it out so much, but just being with it as it naturally arises. And if that's the case, then you don't, we're both big thinkers about things, so.
Well, my fear of
Yeah.
even using this was that we're over explaining, since we both were kind of like, and this, and so I was like, oh, we don't need an oracle card, and then it was the nothing one. So it could maybe it
So
just
there's
means
nothing
like
else
there's
that
nothing
we
else
need
to add to this one.
Okay.
Although the nothing could also mean something. But yeah, but if that's say what you leave the charge on that one. You did though. You already said so.
Yeah. You know what? Do you want to start over?
No.
No. Okay.
Why do you want to start over?
Because I feel like we're like getting into the flow now. Like I feel like it's
no,
you know, you get more comfortable.
We established the flow getting up to this point.
Okay. All right.
Are we gonna leave this part in? Or are we gonna add it in?
I don't know. Should we cut it out?
No,
to let them know that I'm just not used to doing it with another person.
This is a relationship episode.
Yeah.
So it's maybe better to leave
show the
raw, unfiltered.
Okay. Okay. Well, any closing thoughts for Eli?
No. I mean, I feel care for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just because I don't know. Like you're good, and I wish you the best.
That's nice. I just feel like it's fine. Like you're fine, and there's nothing in these cards that are like making me cautious or anything. It just feels like you're just kind of figuring it out, and it'll work itself out. And not to, I guess.
Yeah, trust your own ability.
Not to worry too much about it. Should we hear from the next caller?
Yeah.
Okay, well, before we hear from the next caller, I just want to mention that if you want to learn more about tarot, I do have a Patreon where I have a bunch of hours of classes about how to read tarot. I have an Intro to Tarot series that's 4 parts, and actually Sam was in one of those parts. He was my volunteer. I give like an example reading of what it's like to give a reading to someone, but I'm, you know, talking about what I'm thinking, and Sam was my person that I gave a reading to. I know it was like 4 or 5 years ago.
That's crazy.
And then on there too, I have a whole bunch of classes on the major arcana. There's a class on each card in the major arcana. I think total, all the tarot classes that I have, there's also classes on the suits. This month I'm going to be putting out a class on numerology. There's probably like 40 hours. I don't know, maybe not that. Maybe there's 30 hours of class. There's a lot of hours of videos on my Patreon, and it's all of them all together are available for $5. So I also offer tarot readings through my website, so if you ever want to get a reading that's not on the show, you can find those on my website, kathrynsoley.com/tarot. All right, should we hear from our next caller?
Yeah. This one?
Either one.
Kathryn, thank you so much for doing this awesome offering for us all. I would love some clarity from the tarot on my marriage and staying with my husband or not. I keep going back and forth, feeling drawn to leave one day and then drawn to stay closer the next day, and I would just really love any input at all. Thank you so much.
Thank you for calling. I hear sadness in that call. some ways there's some kind of similarities to the last caller, obviously on like a very different scale, with the uncertainty.
Yeah, like I want to go into the psychology of it, but there's not enough information there, so I have to rely on like intuition and
On
cards just to break
yeah.
away from these two.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what we have for you, caller. Oh, okay, so we have the Four of Cups, the Star, and the Nine of Pentacles, all very sweet cards, I would say. All of these cards to me, something that they share in common, there's like this common thread of rest, relaxation, appreciation of what's here. There's the sense that I have that whichever way you go in the relationship, that there's to just be like okay with where you're heading, with where you are, with the decision that you've made. Mm-hmm. That it's almost like being in this in-between is, that's like the hellish part, as opposed to being, you know, if you don't want to be with your husband, because on some level, you absolutely know in your gut if you want to stay in this relationship or not. And your mind, what happens then is your mind comes in and says, no, but what if, you know, what if this, what if that, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. But your gut, your heart, your intuition, whatever you want to call it, knows the answer already. And so it's the hellish part is like being in that unknown and that in-between kind of space. And so just admitting, you know, the truth to yourself about it, whatever that may be, whichever way it is, will result in a lot more relaxation. You know, even with that Four of Cups there, the cups are related to the element of water. They have to do with our emotions. The 4 is like a very grounded number. So there's something about it that tells me, you know, you want to make sure that you're looking at this from a grounded emotional space, that you're not making this decision from a space of highly emotionally triggered space, but it's like you have clarity around it. I'm thinking now that I have Sam here, every time, you know, sometimes when we get into our little spats, it's like, this is done. Like, we're done. I mean, but that's like, there's a thought that comes up like that, but, you know,
we just recognize
we know better that
it's a
it's
characteristic of having something like
something triggered, where it's just like fear triggered, basically.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to ask yourself, is it that your partner, your husband is triggering something in you that's creating this feeling of like, I got to get out of here, but it's really like your own stuff to deal with more so. I mean, obviously you want your husband to be gentle and understanding when you're triggered, or is it like this is something that is like he's not going to deal with this and it's not the right thing for me to stay in this relationship or not?
I would add to that there may be forces at play in your life that are going to help you make that decision, that will give you some insight into that physical transformation. Like some subtle thing will happen and it might mark a good time to make that decision, or is happening. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm really delighted by sometimes this is like the words that you use to describe certain cards or things. I mean, it's very indicative of how your mind works.
Yeah.
And it's very delightful, like calling the Nine of Pentacles, physical transformation. I think also you're saying that in correspondence with the star is like he's very good at, he helps me edit a lot of my writing. Well, not so much these days, but like he's very good at refining things and figuring out like, you know, what is the essence of this. And I feel like that's a really dead on way to explain that I just wouldn't have thought of it. It's like when I'm doing a tarot reading, I'm operating almost completely off of like intuition and just like a general knowledge of the cards, or pretty good knowledge of the cards. But you're like how you're systematic.
When you put up the raw material, then I can turn my mind on and start to go into your mind and see something.
Yeah. I'd say too with the, or did I interrupt your thought? I would say too with the star card, you know, every time I see the star card, I can't help but correlate it with the card that comes before it in the series of the Major Arcana, which is the Tower card. And so the Tower card comes in our lives when there's a big change in our sense of self, our sense of identity. And so this could definitely be something that comes with either a divorce or, you know, deciding to stay in a relationship where there's you've gotten to a point in the relationship where something needs to change. Either something in the relationship needs to change or you have to leave the relationship. And so you may be coming out of that now. And with that, you know, the star comes right after the Tower card, and the star is this time when after, you know, the Tower has fallen, we just take a moment to rest and just, you don't need to do anything crazy, make any big, you know, other big life choices necessarily, but just kind of assess and rest.
And I sense maybe that there could be something more.
Yeah.
Like a hope almost.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that excited me when you said that too, that there's something bigger guiding her. Is that what you said?
Well, just a sense that there's a bigger like possibility, whatever that looks like externally, you know, who knows. But a feeling like things could be better in some way. Internally, externally, whatever. I hope this helps. I mean, is it too vague?
Well, we can't, the problem with tarot, it's not really a problem. I think it's what makes it good in some ways, is the way that I approach it at least, is that I don't tell people what to do. I don't say this is the right decision because I don't know, like but this is just, you know, what comes up. I have my guesses, you know, but
if I was going to be a tarot reader, I would want to have the person here and then basically ask them pointed like psychological questions and then use this to try to like refine my
you would be good at that.
Understanding.
You would be really good at that.
That's good. So would you.
That's what I do that.
Well, you don't have the person.
I don't, not always, most of the time.
I mean, I wouldn't be able to do this without.
Well, I would just say, you know, overall too, that all, like I said at the beginning, all of these cards are like sweet cards. Similarly to the first caller, I'm not like worried about you. I'm not seeing anything where I'm like, you know, something really wrong is happening or you're really stressed about this. Maybe you are really stressed about it, but if you are, you know, I think just trust that you know. I want to come back to that because I think that's kind of the thing, is that you already know in your heart, in your gut, in your intuition, which way you want to go with this. It's when the mind comes in and starts questioning and starts doubting that things get all muddied. And so if you can just kind of like not be emotionally reactive, rest with it, just allow it to come through and to just, you know, be grateful for what is here, even if it's not what you wanted. So let's pull an oracle card. But Sam doesn't. This is the Sam unapproved oracle card.
I just feel a little strange, probably from...
Your eye looks so much better though after the drop. Yeah, it looks way better. Yeah, I was like this. he's had it's been a little bit red for a while, and as an herbalist, I'm like, no, we're not going to the doctor. It's fine. We're gonna, do these things. But then this morning it was so red that I was like, all right, we need someone to
I
look
took
at
a
this.
steroid drop, and then I feel like it went down into my throat.
Yeah.
So my eyes are very like open to my throat, and my throat feels a little weird. So I'm just like I'm like, what is that?
You're attracting kind of.
Am I gonna die?
Probably not. Eventually.
It's probably just dry out too.
All right, I'm gonna pull an oracle card here. Oh, I love this one.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Potential. Perfect for this reading.
Indeed.
Yeah. So you can look at this in this reading. Yeah, right above the star there. You can look at this within this reading as, two main things come to mind for me. One is your potential. That's like a big one. How does this situation, whether you stay in the relationship or leave the relationship, what is your potential in that? Where do you have space to grow into that? And the other is just the potential of the situation,
Yeah, and I think we can positively confirm that I really feel like there is some kind of potential. Not necessarily it means that you leave your partner, it may, but there is a potential for like a clearer, happier you.
Yeah. Yes.
However that comes about.
I think that's what I was trying to say when I was like, these all feel like sweet cards, and like, there is this potential for this happier you, and I definitely see that. So do what you need to do to get there. And I wish you the best on that journey. Do you have any closing?
No. Yeah, I wish you the best on that journey as well.
It's not an easy one.
We're with you.
Should we hear from our last caller?
Sure. I'm gonna put these sunglasses on so you can help, because all this bright light. It snowed today. Of all the days for it to snow, it snows today, and there's so much brightness.
Yeah, it's snowing right now. I keep looking out the window.
My eyes are a little strained. So whoever,
so now you look cool.
For the next call, I don't know.
You look like you're blind.
Doug, listen up. So here's what you got to do. Yeah, you can just pretend I'm a blind soothsayer.
Thanks.
Hey, Kathryn. I recently was able to leave an abusive relationship of 3 years. During that time, I was really gaslit and manipulated and controlled. So it took a long time to get out, and it was hard for me to see it at first because that was the environment I was raised in. And also, when you confront that sort of person, it's often reversed back onto you. So I've been working through the shadow of, reactive abuse, of not only the harm that was committed on me, but also what I did in response when I was dysregulated. I've been working through that shadow with DBT and IFS, but I was just curious if you and the cards had any advice for how to deal with that constant sense of self-doubt and rumination that happens after leaving a relationship like that. Thank you.
It's very thoughtful. Like, I appreciate that the caller is like not just my relationship, like that person was really bad and I'm the victim, but also, and it sounds like that was the case, but also like how you responded to that and you feeling like just, I appreciate that self-awareness, which is almost always lacking. Most people, awareness of like our own part.
Just how our defenses can burn us too in the end, even if they're justified.
yeah, it's hard when you're dealing with someone that's, you know, abusive, manipulative, to meet that when you when you love that person. So, yeah. So we have the Six of Pentacles again, the Empress, and the Ten of Swords. Yeah. Well, I love seeing the Empress in this reading. I really, I like seeing that in this reading for sure.
So what was the question? The final question?
It says how to deal with the constant sense of self-doubt and rumination that happens after leaving a relationship like that. And since the question is about self-doubt, again, it's like nice to have the Empress there, because this can be this part of you that trusts yourself, is embodied. You know, embodiment, I'm guessing, would be probably an important practice to work with after leaving a relationship like this, where there's, you know, where you're probably in kind of like a fight or flight response a lot, where you're just worried, like walking on eggshells. Am I going to get in trouble? What's going to happen next? That could create a sense of disembodiment. That could create a sense of disconnect from not only your body, but your emotions, your thoughts. Like you're doubting, if you said there's gaslighting here, so doubting yourself, doubting your thoughts, doubting your judgment, and then even, you know, doubting your judgment while you're in the relationship because of gaslighting, but then on the other side, doubting yourself because, like, how did I get into this relationship? And also you said, you know, how you responded to it. So with the Empress card, if you have your own deck at home, caller, I would recommend taking out the Empress card and just, you could sit with it, you could hold it in your hand and look at it and see, what does the Empress have to say to you? Just do like a little 5-minute meditation. Just hold the card and look at it and just notice what arises when you sit with the card. What does the Empress have to say to you? And you might have things, you know, words, body sensations, images. Just notice what arises without even necessarily worrying about what the Empress officially means, like what the definition of the Empress card is. Notice what it has to share with you.
Yeah, and I can add to that,
yeah,
that you know, you can handle it. Like you can handle your self-doubt, and you can handle feeling like, oh, was I the bad one? Did I do something bad? Did I handle that neurotically? You have the capacity to just let all those things like be confident in yourself and be confident with what you did, but also, you know, you have the capacity to deal with and analyze your own shadow and feelings that shadow behaviors are built on. And if you need to let yourself feel like maybe you were bad, whether it's true or not, and explore that, like you have the capacity to do that without being completely dysregulated. Like just trust that power.
Yeah, and I would say an important card in this reading is the Ten of Swords. And the Ten of Swords, I'm going to guess that Sam has a different take on this.
I'm curious. I don't know. Go ahead.
So the Ten of Swords, all cards have different sides to them. The Ten of Swords, and so in this reading, I can actually see like the two main kind of ends of the spectrum both being present with your reading. You know, one side being swords are related to the element of air. They have to do with the way that we think, and a 10 is this kind of completion. It's the fulfillment of this area. And so you may be just wrapping your head around, like really completely in a new way, wrapping your head around the relationship, what got you into the relationship in the first place, how you feel about yourself, like in relationship to the relationship, just having this clarity of mind. The other side of the Ten of Swords that's also present here is when we can get into this sort of like anxiety, like overthinking things, like everything is like a nightmare. Like, what did I do? Oh my God, I can't believe I believed that guy. I can't believe I was in that relationship. Oh, I'm so stupid. I can't believe I did that.
Yeah.
And just like beating yourself up, overthinking it, overanalyzing it.
It doesn't feel like there's room for anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's
Mentally.
you just have this like narrow view of what
It's
happened.
filled with swords.
Yeah, exactly. So you, like, both, I would guess, are present in your experience at this time. And then we have the Six of Pentacles, and do you have any thoughts about the Six of Pentacles?
No. I wait for you to say, and I...
And then you piggyback.
Yeah, I just feel into it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
With the Six of Pentacles in this reading, one of the things that's coming up, and it's funny, speaking of like doubting yourself, because I'm doubting this thought, but happens sometimes as a reader, but at this point I just trust enough that it is correct. But what's coming up is giving or receiving of your experience. So I think that it could be beneficial to, now I'm not doubting myself anymore, now that the thought is fully forming, but going to like a support group for survivors of abusive relationship, where you can hear, that like makes me like want to cry thinking about that, where you can hear stories from other people, you can have some camaraderie, you can share your experience with people that will understand, or something else, that maybe fulfills a similar role if you don't want to go to like a support group like that. I don't know what's out there. I'm sure that there's like almost everywhere you can find groups like that. Probably how good they are will depend on group to group, but like an AA style type meeting, something like that. Or just, I don't know, even like a therapist, like something where you're working with someone where there's an exchange where you feel heard and understood, you can share what happened, and then perhaps further down the line, there's also, this is the part that I was doubting, because this is what came up first, is that this could become an opportunity at some point for you to mentor other people who have gone through similar situations. It doesn't have to be like a formal mentorship, but you might at some point in your life come across a woman who's in a similar situation, and now you're in a place, you're 10 years past, you've like worked through all of this, and now you're able to offer, that touches me too. You're able to offer the wisdom that you gained through going through that experience to someone else who may need it in a moment. And it could just even be something like passing someone at like a bus stop or something, or it could be a loved one,
Yeah. It's interesting that it's all just what we choose, our projections, but she's regarding,
she's
Empress
looking
is
towards,
regarding Ten of Swords. I would just say, it's hard. I'm not used to doing it. I have the thought, but it's elusive. I get like, there's something, and then, but I would just, learn to like trust yourself, ground in yourself, and that maybe that is going into some kind of group or some kind of physical support. Physical in the sense of like it exists in the world, but to learn to do that, and don't be afraid of the Ten of Swords. Like, don't be afraid that that's what some part of you is going through. Just like let it I don't know. Yeah, I know I'm less experienced with this thing, so I don't know. Sometimes, like,
No, don't doubt yourself. Should
it's
I pull an
interesting.
oracle card?
It's an interesting process. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Oh, now it's definitely.
Well, yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Do ex machina.
Hmm.
Which I think literally translates to the ghost in the machine.
Right. Let me just sit with that for a second. I mean, you say what you want.
I feel like you're supposed to say something about it.
Yeah. There may be more helping you than you realize. There may be more of a silver lining in your life than you realize. I almost have it, I just can't.
I know, I feel something too. I mean, I see like two things. One is that, you know, the ghost in the machine, do ex machina, it's like almost like what's the invisible architect doing in your life? And I always hesitate to say things like this, like everything happens for a reason, because I don't know if it's quite as simple as that, but meaning can be made from everything that happens. And, you know, I think back on times in my life that were like very difficult. And, you know, actually this morning during my meditation, I was reflecting on how because sometimes I think about like, wouldn't it have been nice if I just had like a perfect childhood? I would be like fully enlightened by now. Everything would be so easy if I had just had like a fully like loving, easy.
You'd be working at Wells Fargo Bank, bringing in
$1 million a month. And I was thinking, you know, as I've worked through different like traumatic experiences, you know, through the years, I feel like I have more of the experience of someone who never had trauma because I'm actually processing it. But the difference is, if I never had trauma, it's like you don't know what you take for granted the good feelings. And so I was thinking about like different examples of how that can happen in life, you know, of when you're, and these are like silly examples, but like if you've ever been on a road trip in the middle of nowhere and your car's running out of gas and there's no gas stations anywhere, and all of a sudden you see a gas station, you're like, it becomes like a sacred temple that you found like in the oasis in the desert. But otherwise you don't care about gas stations at all. It's just like, you just take it for granted. I know that's kind of like a silly, superficial example, but it's like that, you know, if you hadn't have had this relationship, you may not be able to appreciate future healthy relationships as deeply, as fully, because you just take it for granted if you haven't had these difficulties.
Well, healthy relationships as compared to just finding like the right person, like finding like the perfect person, but like actually finding somebody who you can grow with.
Yep.
Because you both have had insights into your deeper layers of conditioning that we all have, whether it gets evoked in life or whether it's just buried under the surface of a pleasant life. But
yeah, that's basically my thought, is that there's more, you appreciate life more, I think, when you've had difficulties and you've worked through them. If you have difficulties and you haven't worked through them, you're not you're not in good shape. If you've had a really easy life and there's nothing to work through, you don't appreciate it as much.
And can I bring it home to
Yeah.
this? I would say within this particular situation, the silver lining to this particular situation, rather than being so general, is that the clarity that you get from this has something to offer you that is potentially very significant in this life, this incarnation of yours. Whether you see that now or not, in the same way that any difficulty has a potential for that, but not all of it get realized. This specifically, we're just confirming it does have, I think, a big potential. If we take this card
I
seriously.
do feel it. In this reading, I'm the last one too. There's kind of
just the decisions you make at this point on. If you take this, as a badass, feeling your stuff, owning your stuff, and not negating anything that happened to you or anyone else's fault, but just take it as medicine. I think that there's your life path. You can really brighten up your whole life path going forward. Right? Does that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah, totally, as medicine. And again, we're not negating that this was probably a pretty fucked up experience.
But this is a fucked up experience that you can
handle.
But you can handle it, yeah. But you can get a lot out of it going forward, whether you see that or not. And not every fucked up experience you're necessarily going to get a lot out of in your life, other than maybe some internal understanding. But the fact that you can handle it, you do have the capacity to handle this one. That means that it's a good fucked up experience. It's when you can't handle it and it's just going to throw your life in a spinner, whatever that is. Is when
picturing a salad spinner.
It's a true fucked up experience. And maybe the more developed we all are, the more evolved we all are. The impossibility of having a fucked up experience, because it's all something to grow from, becomes more of a reality, no matter what happens unto death. But anyway, maybe I'm getting too philosophical here.
No, it's good.
This is a nice card.
I know it is a good card. This is a good deck. This is the only oracle deck that I use. I do have to say that Sam has been. I like my cards spaced very meticulously, and my Virgo, it's upsetting me. But we're done. We're
done.
We're breaking up. Well, thank you, caller. I think all the calls today, none of you guys, I'm I'm not worried about anybody. It all feels pretty positive, pretty optimistic. So, yeah.
Yeah, this was fun.
Well, before we close, I pull the card of the day.
Okay.
You ready for that?
I'm ready.
The day is winding down here.
A card of the day for Valentine's Day?
Just for whatever day they're watching, whatever moment they're watching, if that is Valentine's Day or any other day. Was it fun? You said it's fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah, I want to do more. I want to come on more. It's fun.
Okay, we'll have to do it another time.
I want to wear a costume though.
What kind of costume?
Like a cowboy or a cop.
Okay.
Like a demon.
I don't know. No, I already get occasionally people leaving comments. I always delete them when I see them. They're like, this is satanic. Because people just automatically think tarot is like the devil.
I want to come on as a priest.
Okay, you dress up as a priest and I'll dress up as a little demon. A little she-devil.
Okay.
No, we're not gonna do that.
That's what people want to see in Iowa.
God. We live in Iowa. Okay. Okay, let's pull our card of the day. And this is just for the viewers to, something to think about, something to take with them going forward.
Very simple.
3 of Pentacles. I would say to just do your duties, to focus on the work that you're doing and just keep like plugging along. Learn from those who have gone before you. If you're interested in studying something, you're interested in learning something, especially something within the physical world experience. Pentacles have to do with our physical world experience, so often things like health, finances, career, the way we show up in the world, but it could also be like physical skills, like a craft or something like that. Learning from those who have come before you, and also potentially offering your knowledge of something in this arena to those around you. You know, this could look like offering advice if it's wanted. I often struggle with that. People don't want my advice. Oh my god. You know, about things like health or diet, or be careful with that one, or exercise or money or something like that. Like if you have some knowledge around it, maybe you can share it with someone that is in need. What are your thoughts?
That's good. Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's good.
That's good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we could do
An oracle card of the
oracle
day?
card
We're
of the
gonna
day.
double it? All right.
double it down. Make a lot
Okay,
more
I've
sense.
never done this before. So this is one of the cards in the deck that has no name in the oracle deck. It's an interesting contrast to the Three of Pentacles, because when I think of the Three of Pentacles, I think of a very like practical, physical kind of energy, whereas this card and the oracle card is very, it's a little bit more spiritual. It's like everything kind of is perfect as it is. Everything has its place.
Even small, if you look at the first card, even small expressions, changes, insights can take part in much bigger processes that we don't even see. And with this thing, you also see the shape inside a shape, you know, the kind of fractal reality, the six and or the six inside the six. And, find the synchronicities in the little things, and the little insights, and the little moments of opening in our day-to-day lives. And kind of the smallest things, you know, can affect our whole world, or the whole world, or, you know, people around you in your own life. Just the smallest opening and trust in the smallest opening can have a very big impact spiritually. Maybe spiritually isn't the right word, but just in the macrocosm. Something like that, yeah.
You're cute. Cool.
Not cute.
Oh, you're cool. Yeah, sorry. Very not cute, masculine, and cool. Okay, well, any closing thoughts or remarks?
No. I feel like this is an awkward ending.
Oh,
how do you normally end it?
Well, I usually say call into the show, 1-641-632-2727. I always need more calls to shoot new episodes, so please keep the calls coming. If you are not subscribed to this channel on YouTube, please subscribe. Like the video, share it with people, let people know that the show exists. I think that it's very niche offering, and I think that it goes against everything else on social media. Everything on social media is like 10 seconds long, and it's like, oh my God, it's like super intense. And even if it's not super intense, it's like it's cut in a way where it's like, there's something happening every half a second. And that is definitely not how this is.
Yeah.
I always laugh when I'm editing because in my mind, I think I speak at like a normal pace. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I was really like fast talking in that episode or in a class I was teaching or something, and then I listen to it and I'm just like, wow, I am a slow talker.
Yeah. Kathryn is an offering of peace to humanity.
Oh,
You are.
oh, thank you.
And not in allotories like you mean.
Thank you.
So anyway, call the
Call
number.
into the show.
Tell your friends to call in if they want to be on live primetime TV.
Number one hit show.
Number one hit show in the world globally. 63 million viewers in India
Alone. Yeah.
So
How many people are in India? I guess more than 63 million. They have like 1 billion, don't they?
yeah, something, I don't know. Yeah.
Anyway, and then also if you want to learn how to read tarot, I have my Patreon, lots of classes available. You can learn my perspective on tarot, how to read tarot. If you want to get a reading from me, not on the show, you can do so through my website, kathrynsoli.com/tarot. I have a shop where I sell flower essences, and yeah. Also on my Patreon, I have monthly herbal care packages. Sam actually helps me wrap those every month. So, okay.
Can we end it where I pinch out the candle and then it goes black?
Like, Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah.
We watched an episode yesterday or 2 days ago. An episode from childhood that terrified me. I don't want to keep talking, but
No, might as
it
well.
was-
So you're still watching?
it was this episode, I don't know if anyone remembers it. I only ever watched 2 episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark because I was just like not the kind of child that could handle that level of terror. And one of them was this pool monster that would like pull people down and drown them. And so all through childhood, I knew it wasn't real, but I was like scared, especially in the deep end of the pool, that there was an invisible lurking monster that was going to pull me down. So we watched that episode, and it wasn't that scary, actually. It was a little scary.
Yeah, you did. It was
I was a little
inside,
scared.
yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, you
All
may
right.
pull out. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and I'll see you next
Submitted
time.
for the approval.